Hey everyone, blessings. It is 6 o'clock and it's Pine Grove News live from the East Coast. Yeah, like I said, hope everyone's doing okay. I'm just hitting buttons, so I'm a little distracted. Be right there. All right, so let's go see if we're live at YouTube. One of our checks. Check, check. Okay, all good. So let's just put something up there while we get started here. Just looking at my notes for Monday, it is the 18th of November already. Man, so not this Friday or Thursday, but next Friday, right? Yeah, is Thanksgiving already. Wow. So, well, one of the notes I got, I'm just sorry, not sure how to start. We'll just start with this. With the notes, you know that now, you remember us talking about all these plant-based burgers that, I don't know, Burger King has one. Maybe, I don't know who else has one. I'm not going to say Mickey D's because I don't know for sure, but one other of these big chains, Dunkin', came out with their plant-based. And, oh, you also remember there's a plant-based ice cream, right? Remember I was telling you that probably two episodes ago. But now this Dunkin' is just with their plant-based sausage breakfast sandwich. And I will never go there and have any of their food anymore. So I don't know why they're pushing this, but they're definitely pushing us to eat plants and worms and who knows what else. They have been doing it. Now they're just going all hold bar, man. Now Dunkin' with a sausage breakfast, plant based. Oh man, what is next? It's just getting stranger and stranger out there. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out where the heck I am in the scheme of things. We'll start out with this because I this happened over the weekend. This happened on Saturday, I believe. I was flipping through the channels both days. Even today, even listening to the news, that I normally do at my lunchtime. I did not hear this. And somebody said that it was over here at Natural News. Does anybody else know that the president was, well, they're not calling it rushed to the hospital. They called it an unscheduled stop at a military hospital. He underwent a battery of tests for possible deliberate poisoning of food with time delayed chemical agent. Food tester gravely ill, supposedly from a White House connected source. Now, you would figure if something like this happened, I mean, at least even in my state, where it's a Democratic state, all the news agencies, well, 99% of them are all Democrats. And if they got some news, if somebody poisoned the president's food and tried to knock him off, they would be on the news. Not a peep, not a word, nothing. So I don't get it. But anyway, here it is. I found it. My brother told me it was over at Natural News, and here it is. But everybody has an agenda. Even I do. Yep. But apparently, this exclusive Natural News report Came via Alex Jones at InfoWars. So take that for what it's worth. Don't see him out there. I think he has his own radio station now or something like that, because they won't let him on YouTube. So, unscheduled stop at the Walter Reed Military Hospital on Saturday involved a battery of tests to determine whether the president was exposed to a chemical agent. You know what just popped in my head? Do they really still have food tasters for the presidents and kings and royalty and stuff like that? Well, apparently they do. At least that's what we're led to believe today, right? Yeah, apparently they still have food tasters. Now, you figured they'd come up with some kind of high tech, to figure that stuff out without risking somebody's life. But I guess some things are just done the old fashioned way. So the medical staff at the Walter Reed did not get a state or staff wide notice. So nobody was noticed, because normally you have to with, VIP coming into Walter Reed. They usually have, different parts of the hospital closed down for this VIP. But no, they just showed up. I mean, I wouldn't want to tell anyone, where I was going either. Just show up. That's the best way to do it. You keep it amongst the few people that are around you. You get in the car and you go. I mean, even I'm sure he could put on a hat, a coat, and while he's driving, tinted windows. You'll never see the president. So take that for what it's worth, people. It is out there, but it was not televised on the news, as far as I know. So, very interesting. Let's see. I got well, there's a couple of videos at the end here that I wanted to go over, and there's one 15-minute video that I'm going to let play through the whole thing. That'll be the end of that. It's Signs of the Times. What was it? 100% proof for living in the end times. And I don't know this person. Oh, End Time Productions. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I am subscribed to them. But anyway, we'll get there when we get there. Also, we're going to talk about briefly Elon Musk and what he admitted to in this video. And I have it queued up. It's only about 30 seconds. We're going to listen to that too. But stay tuned for that one. Excuse me. That's an eye-opener for all you people who... Did we go to the moon? Did we go to the moon? Did we put a man on the moon? That's the question. I mean, that's almost as big as a question as if the Earth is flat or round, right? It's like 50-50, man. Well, Elon Musk will tell you exactly what happened. So, and I don't know. We'll talk about Kanye West, however you pronounce his name, when we get to it. We should do that in a minute. Yeah. My minute, though. You know what my minutes are. So this is from the Big Wobble. It's the tip of the iceberg. Thousands of short-tailed shearwaters migrating from Alaska have been washing up on Sydney's iconic beaches. But the death rate of Alaskan seabirds is unprecedented. Look at these birds. Just look at them. Thousands of them. And we hear about these stories. There's at least 1-2 a week of these mass killings, die-offs, whatever they are. I mean, this has been going on for years. I mean, look up, look around you, tomorrow, during the day. I mean, do you hear the birds still? They still around? They've been dying off in mass like this for years. Yeah, the Lord said he was going to take them away. So, talking about Alaska, Alaskans experienced their record high temperature, record snowfall in the same day. So, yeah, we're not the only ones. I mean, New England experienced at least 2 or 3 days of big swings in temperature. California's done the same. I'm sure there are others. It has to be. Thing is, what's creating it? What's doing it? There's a lot of speculation. Geoengineered weather is one of them. I mean, if that's being done, I'm sure it could have. This could obviously be one of its. What do you call it? Side effects. I mean, what do you call them? Not coincidences. Anyway, yeah, Alaskans. Record high temperature. Let's see. The Anchorage Daily News reports the municipality of Anchorage saw a snowfall of more than a foot Saturday after tying a temperature record in 1967. So the National Weather Service says that the city tied the high temperature record by reaching 45 degrees. We've seen other high temperatures in Alaska in the summertime anyway, in the 90s, and those are not normal numbers. And this 45 degrees was at 3 a.m. their time. And the Weather Service says southeast winds blew warm air at the city. Before the winds subsided, temperatures dropped and snow fell. And so they got 8.3 inches. All in the same day. Things are messed up, man. They just are. And you must have heard these things because they're all over my media here. Yeah, they're all over mainstream. Of course, there would be, right? These mass shootings, these mass killings. I mean, they will put them out there, especially so they can have a reason to take your gun away. Now, whether these things be true or not, and most cases they are true. They did happen. False flags can happen. Doesn't mean that people didn't die in them. So, ABC Action News: Fresno mass shooting, 10 shot, 4 dead, as gunman opens fire on a family watching a football. Suspects still at large. So, first of all, it's not gunman, it is gunmen. Apparently, it is 2 suspects, and it was a home where there was approximately about 45 people. They're saying, and 2 individuals showed up in the backyard where the party was going on as well, and just started shooting people. And 3 of them died there in the lawn, and there were children there as well. But apparently, it was. You hear some guy talking in this video clip down here is that it's not the first time it's happened either. So this is, not something. Well, they'll probably still use it for some kind of gun regulation or removal. And there was something about one of the people testifying there said that, well, first of all, it may have been targeted for Asians. Now, I heard Asians, and now I started thinking, maybe they're going to make this some kind of another racial thing. So I don't know. Fresno, California. Someone else that called to a home. Anyways, and that wasn't the only thing. This also. 3 people dead from a shooting at the Oklahoma Walmart. And it's not developing anymore. It's over. That also was on mainstream media. And basically what that is that some guy came up to a couple in their car in the parking lot at this Walmart and shot them both. And then he turned the gun on himself and killed himself. So that's what happened there. And yeah. No, somebody had mentioned at first his first one was at a football game, but it wasn't a football game. There was a party going on and they were watching football. So and if that happened on Saturday, which do not know. Actually, it says Sunday. Okay, so they were watching professional football. That was just, Saturday, college football's on. Sunday is professional football. So anyway, it doesn't make one bit of difference. Strange sounds. Food prices to skyrocket in the UK as floods ruin crops, winter vegetables, and delay planting. Just more of these stories that they're just flooding the airwaves, so to speak, these past few months. And yes, there has been a lot of crop damage. Doesn't mean that they didn't get, a lot or most of their crop. Okay, I've seen some of the pictures. I mean, a lot of these places, yes, they had, pools of water everywhere. In some places, yes, they were underwater. And yes, they will be a slight decrease in the food. But what you also need to understand is they could use this against us. And you're talking about food prices already to skyrocket in UK, even though, you know what I mean? They're already using the narrative that food prices are going to skyrocket because supposedly there's not going to be enough food. It's going to be just a very low supply of it, and it's just going to be terrible. It'll be terrible because they're going to make it terrible. This is a government. Remember, in the U.S., you have a government that likes to, um, how do you call it? What do you call those people who are on? You ever watch that show on TV? Hoarders. Yeah, hoarders. That's who they are. Yeah, U.S. politicians, military. I mean, they are hoarders. They buy stuff they don't need. They put it in a closet somewhere or some warehouse, and they just lock it up. Don't let anybody have any of it. They have plenty of food, and you're just going to have to try and get it another way if they start doing this stuff. You should know that this is probably most definitely just a staged event. I mean, yes, of course, with the flooding, there's going to be crops that are, not, it's not going to be as much. There's plenty of people who have plenty of food, a lot of people who waste food. Now, if we all just behaved ourselves and, bought the food we needed instead of hoarding it, then there'd be plenty for everybody. But I won't get into that subject because I don't understand why we have people who don't eat or can't eat because they either can't afford it or the government just won't give it to them. Yeah, so here's the big thing. Official data released on Friday revealed a great deal of uncertainty. So anyway, so when there's uncertainty, they just speculate. Food prices to skyrocket. So it's to skyrocket. It's not food prices are skyrocketing or will too. That means that they'll make sure that it does. End time headlines. Chinese government using facial and fingerprint scanning on Christians as they enter church. And nothing can go wrong with that, right? Just the Christians, I guess, as they enter the church. I wonder what that's going to mean. Is that going to be part of their social guidelines as well? Are these Christians? Obviously, they're going to be targeted for something, right? I mean, they already are. So, in a bid to keep a tighter leash on the country's growing Christian community, and it is growing. It's growing in China. It's growing in Korea's. It's growing in Iran, of all places. Chinese government is now employing facial recognition, fingerprint scanning technology. Last month, officials set up 2 biometric scanning machines at the entrance of the Mayang Church in Hubei. According to the Christian persecution watchdog Bitter Winter, congregants were then forced to have their faces and fingerprints scanned before they're allowed to enter the sanctuary. So, 2 Chinese Christian councils required all meeting venues established by 3 shelf churches. Church going is disturbed by the order, since the requirement not only puts members of congregations under the government's constant tracking and surveillance, of course, but it can also implicate their family members and relatives. Of course, that's what it's for. That and their social justice or whatever they call it. If you do something wrong, I mean, didn't they hand out their own Bibles, these Chinese people, to these Christian congregants already? And we'll just keep following that stuff. It's just going to get worse. We've got it pretty much made here so far. We'll be seeing changes soon, I would imagine. So this from Free Thought Project, in a historic move, vote to federally legalize marijuana to take place in Congress this week. I don't know about this week. I think they're going to have 3 days of this impeachment hearing. So when are they going to have time to pass that law, you think, huh? And they've got, the budget coming up. They need that in order for the government to work. So, well, there you go, folks. Federally legalized marijuana. There's plenty of states already, okay, not that have it legal and will not prosecute it federally. But now that's the whole point here, to federally legalize marijuana now. So everybody will be on the right side, the wrong side. I don't know. The rule, this is also from National News, the rule of law has collapsed in America. A nation where the guilty go free while the innocent are persecuted and silenced. It's all around the world, people. It's been happening. It will continue to happen. And all I can say is, about this, about our own country and the way that the Democrats have now, they have divided our country. I have to admit to that now. They've divided it, and it could get even worse. And what I see happening in this is that with these impeachment things, with it being televised and all this other stuff, I mean, aren't the Democrats kind of interfering with a presidential election by doing this just before the election? Couldn't they be accused of that? I certainly can, get somebody to twist their minds to think that way and impeach all them. They are now literally influencing the next presidential election. That's what they're doing. They know they have no evidence, just people and hearsay, just stories. You got what? One, two, maybe now there's maybe a third that actually heard them talking, or can't hear both of them talking. You can hear one. Anyways, we may be in for a bad ride, and we need to take this into consideration too. That if this happens, if the election somehow is postponed, interrupted, if there's a little soft coup happens and we're too busy and we're embroiled in our own civil unrest, you know what that makes for prophecy to be pretty close to being fulfilled over there in Israel. Seeing that we'll be too busy here, Israel will be on its own. And according to a few people out there, things are taking place. Things may be happening within hours, within days. And I'm going to give you the link to this, okay? I'm not going to play the whole thing. Maybe I should, but. And someone I used to listen to quite a bit. I can't prove that his information is wrong. I can't prove that it's right now, but I know some people listening here know this person. And a lot of people take what he says, very personally, to heart. But anyways, you should all be prepared for any of this anyway. If you've been following, the signs of the times, you know that this is the time and things are getting very close to a lot of things being fulfilled in a matter. I mean, it's like the trumpets going, the 7 trumpets, one after the other after the other. That's probably how this is all going to start clicking in pretty soon. Maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight, maybe during the winter. Or why else would the Lord say, pray that your flight is not in winter? Why would that have to be said? You better start praying. So this is from the Watcher's amateur astronomer who detected an interstellar object discovers another comet. Crimean amateur astronomer Gennady Borsov discovered another comet in early November 2019, just months after tracking an interstellar comet in August, which may be carrying alien water. The newly found stellar object is his 9th discovery. An amateur astronomer. Well, I wish he would tell us about the other stuff too, because I know there's other stuff. Anyway, so here's the link to this. This object was reported as possibly the possible commentary on November 2nd by noting a 7 arcsecond condensed coma. Oh, that's technical stuff, so I'll let you all read it. I guess, and there's a video clip here showing the tracking and the elevation on the plane and all that other good stuff. All I have to say about this Kanye West is that he is in the news everywhere, mainstream. We had that Joel Osteen thing on Sunday. I don't know how I ended up there. Maybe muting a commercial or something when I was watching TV, but I ended up on something about the Kardashians. I think it was Keeping Up with the Kardashians, something like that. It was a show. They were on TV anyway. And she was laying in bed in her whatever, and Kenya was talking to her about his Christianity. And he was mentioning to, I guess it's Kim, that he didn't want her going out dressed like she dresses anymore. And I heard her say something like, well, you get converted, a few months ago, and now I have to change my life and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. Now they're letting us see every aspect of everything. I mean, he was even, even at a speech here. And I don't really want to talk about this anymore. Um, but here's all your articles, man. His Sunday service show performed with the Illuminati all-seeing eye of horror stage, but that's the Lakewood Church. That's already been there. I also heard that he was charging $50 a ticket to get into that place. If it was all about Jesus, it wouldn't be all about the money either. That's what I have to say about all these prosperity teachers. I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with being rich and having money, but hey, Jesus taught you the difference when that rich man came up to him and said that he, all his life, was a good man and not sinning and so on and so forth and wanted to be saved, I guess, baptized and all this other stuff. He asked Jesus what he had to do in order to follow him or be a disciple or something like that. And Jesus told him that he had to give up everything that he had and give it to the poor. And he just walked away. This money changes you. And though I'm not making any, I hope I'm not, making any judgment on him. I'm just watching. I tried to ignore him for a long time, but now he's in everything. And I'm just saying, use your own discernment. You know what we're supposed to be doing. You know what a Christian is, and you know what, trying to be Christ-like is. So is that happening? I mean, this is the same thing that I'm kind of letting go because I had a problem with Christmas as well. When I first, you know, just barely getting out of the law type thing. I was always the law, but I got away from that and didn't want to celebrate Christmas because it had these pagan rituals in it, a tree cutting and a bunch of other stuff that's pagan. But I said, well, mostly I let it go now, only because, you know, it's one day or it's a season actually that people actually start thinking about Jesus. And what the heck is wrong with that? Nothing. Nothing at all wrong with that. Matter of fact, yeah. But do we have to mix it with? I'm just saying. That's in my own thought. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, it's a good day. It's a good season. That's why I used to love it when I was younger, a young adult, and I didn't, I wasn't called then, but I loved it because people, there was a transition in people. They changed. They became friendly and smiled, and it was like, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, I guess, something like that around Christmas time. That's what I loved about it. And then it became commercial. It became everything, needs to sell, 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 buy, buy, buy. But anyways, this is what I see happening with this Kanye West thing. Kanye West, however you pronounce it. Been told that I'm pronouncing it wrong. But in any case, even with all this, and Jesus talks about this in Jeremiah, about this percentage that's being, taught over here or over there. If there's only 55% being taught here, at least it's 55%. If it's 75% here and the rest is junk, I mean, at least 75% is being the truth, getting something. You know where I started in all this? I went to 3 different churches over, a few years that were the wrong churches. But I learned as I went along. The Holy Spirit taught me things as I went along, what was truth and what was not, and how you perceive that or discern it, or how the Holy Spirit teaches you that discernment. And I can guarantee that there is going to be some in this movement, whatever you want to call it, because now he says he's that God made him what was the words? The greatest artist ever made or created by God. I mean, that's not Christ-like to me. It's not being boastful like that. It's being having humility and being low as a servant, not to be praising yourself. But in any case, there's going to be people saved out of this, and that's the good thing. There's going to be people that are going to follow this and then realize that they're in the wrong place, and then go and enlighten themselves, get closer to where they're supposed to be. It's all it's all different levels. We get to different levels, different from everybody. That's all I'm going to say about that. So let's just move on. If you want to know where all these stories you can tell about, this is Now the End Begins. I'll leave, this I can't, because this is my feed bro link, and you won't be able to get to that. Just go to Now the End Begins. They're pretty well known out there. So this is the video. Why are many of the world governments suddenly going on high alert? It's 13 minutes. I'll just play you, I don't know, maybe a minute or two, and then I'm going to stop it and leave the link. Go on to the next video.
We don't need a popular story, right? But it's a good thing to have situational awareness of what's going on in this world for real. Not the surface, not the secrets, but the truth. So that we don't deceive ourselves, looking for a sunny day when in fact it's going to rain. Or looking for rain when in fact an ice storm is going to overtake us. It's only a matter of time before the USA and Europe is drawn into a conflict we don't want to be a part of. We're not starting it. We're going to be pulled into it. See, something happened this morning, and we're going to be pulled into it. And we are. Things are forming right now. We're going to be pulled into it, and I want you guys to be aware of that so you're not shaken by it. We know that's been a long time since heavy weapons have been used. They're bringing heavy weapons out, not lightweight assault vehicles. Heavy weapons. Iran has reinforced the armor of many of their vehicles. Why would they do that in the last 10 days? Why is Saudi Arabia having things mounted right now? Why is Israel on alert right now? Why do they expect a missile launch right now? See, things are happening, they're out of control. And while that's happening, what are we doing in the US and Europe and the UK? We're arguing over policy. You have the Brexit issue, which is consuming lots of people's attention. That's where the main focus is for everybody over there. It's almost like they forgot about terrorism, isn't it? Over here, what do we have? We have a Republican-Democrat problem. A very divisive House. They're divided. It's almost like they're not even paying attention to anything. We're about to be effectively tied by the hands. And you might want to know, they've always vowed to give us a surprise strike. All those who have been apart foreign policy in the Middle East, you know that you cannot ever turn your back on those folks who believe in their own faith to burn America to the ground and to burn Israel to the ground. They will never withdraw. That is part of their faith. That's what they believe, and no one can fight another man's faith.
Amen. There you go, folks. I know you want to listen to the rest of it. It is pretty interesting and rings pretty true in a lot of cases. But just be ready. And now I'm going to show you just a minute or two of this interview. The whole thing is not an interview with Elon, just one little area. And just listen to what he says about the Apollo 11 mission.
I kept expecting that we would continue beyond Apollo 11, that we would have a base on the moon, that we would be sending people to Mars. And here we are in 2019, the United States actually does not yet have the ability to send people even to low Earth orbit.
And spacecraft.
I kept expecting that we would continue beyond Apollo 11, that we would have a base on the moon, that we would be sending people to Mars. And here we are in 2019, the United States actually does not yet have the ability to send people, does not yet have the ability to send, does not yet have the ability to send people even to low Earth orbit.
Oh, you hear that? It's been said before, there have been astronauts who are supposedly on the International Space Station that actually said, when they were talking about Project Orion, that would be the first time that they would actually send a human in a spaceship past the Van Allen belt, which apparently even people of Sumerian ancient time knew about and knew that humans couldn't get through that. It's just this highly radioactive belt, so to speak, area where man cannot get to. He'll just die. So Elon Musk talked about Apollo 11. Maybe Apollo 11, just like the other satellites we sent out there, was just robotic. It may have been there and landed on the moon and whatever, but it wasn't manned. So, and this is from Elon Musk, okay? The one who builds rockets now. So that was very interesting. Wish I could get him to talk about more of that. But I'm going to start playing this, and this will end, be the last video. There's probably another 13 minutes left to this video. So enjoy. I am researching this gentleman right now. I've never heard him before. But his name is Pastor Carl Gallups. I've already listened to the video and sound advice in it. So whether you know him or not, I don't know him. I'm going, like I said, I will be seeing who he is later on, but he makes sense now. So if I don't say goodbye at the end of the video.
Base out of their nation. I mean, on and on. The borders are collapsing. Western culture is being overrun by Islam and political correctness and, and gay marriage. And we don't know what a marriage is anymore. We don't know what a gender is. We don't know what a little boy or a little girl is. I mean, people, if we can't see this, then to think of the technology explosion. And I love technology. I'm a techno geek. So I'm not one of those old guys that say, well, that newfangled stuff, that's of the devil. Well, but here's the deal. We have eaten of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So every technological boom that comes forward, CRISPR-Cas9, that's amazing. Genetic editing, that's astounding. Can we use it for good? Absolutely. We can bless people's lives, but is it going to be used only for good? Absolutely not. In fact, now it's already perverted and perverse, and we have not yet seen the bottom of that dark hole. All right? Robotics and artificial intelligence. Can we use that for good? Oh my gosh, it would just make the whole world transformed in some wonderful ways. But the problem is, we build the robots, we put artificial intelligence, and then the makers of it say, I know what, let's have sex with it. It's just the perversion is uncontrollable. Pandora's box has been opened. So when you put all this stuff together and then you understand that we're the first generation in humankind to see the convergence of all this stuff since the return of Israel just 70 years ago. Just 70 years, our historical lifetime. You and I, neither one of us are 70 years old, but you and I both grew up with Israel has always been there in our lifetime, but it really hasn't. It's just been 7 little decades. 7 little decades it's been there. 2,700 years before that, there was no Israel. Yet the word of God said in the last days, I'm bringing it back, and I'm paraphrasing, but God says it in Ezekiel 38, 39, says it in Deuteronomy 4, and several other scriptures. In paraphrasing, he says, and when I do this, then the nations will know that I am the Lord, and there is no other. I will bring them back in the sight of the nations. This will be my witness to the nations that I am the Lord. And I'm going to paraphrase and add this because this is the implication of it, and that we are in the last days. When you see Israel return, we're 70 years. We're just a few months the other side of Jerusalem being restored, another 2,700-year-old prophecy that we're living in the midst of, and 98% of the pastors in America never mentioned it. And to this day haven't mentioned it. So yes, we're living in the end times, and what that means is we're getting so close to the return of the Lord. Now I know there's going to be an antichrist system, but as horrific as that is, if we understand the scriptures correctly, that's just a short period. I mean, 7 years maybe, and that's what most of the charts and graphs and maps say, if they're correct of taking that literally, 7 years. Well, what's 7 years? I remember 7 years ago like it was yesterday. I mean, time's moving. And it's coming like a flood, just like the Word of God said. So I know that's got to happen, but that could happen in our lifetime. And so, you know, and then, well, where's the rapture? There's rapture. Is it pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib? Some people say there's not even a rapture. I happen to believe the scripture is very clear. There is some kind of a protecting, a taking out, a taking away, a catching away. Those words are actually used, as you probably know, in the original languages, and they're translated into the English. So the bottom line is, we're living in the most prophetic time since the first coming of Jesus Christ, because the next big prophecy prior to his second coming was the return of Israel. Well, we're there. Then the return of Jerusalem to Israel. Well, we're there. Then the collapse of Middle Eastern nations, Syria particularly, the joining of Russia and Persia and, you know, all this stuff. Well, that's happening. Terrorism, men's hearts will fail them because of the terror of those days. Well, we're there. I mean, you could go on and on and on. Christian persecution will be worse than ever before, Jesus said. And I know that when people look at that, they say, well, that's in the middle of the Great Tribulation. Maybe so, but all I know is all of the stats, all of the people that collect this information have recorded very, very accurately and faithfully that in our generation, there are more Christians put to death every day and every year than collectively in the entirety of Christianity before us. So we are already living in the prophecy of Jesus, where he said, in those last days before the return of the Son of Man, you'll be put to death, you'll be killed by the sword, and it'll be worse than anything before. It'll be, and already it is. Now, people might be screaming at me right now saying, but it's going to get worse. I think it is. I think you're right. All I'm saying is, we're already there. So you began by asking the question, you know, are we living in the last days? Now, I want to make sure that your audience understands this, and I'm sure most of them do, but you're always getting new viewers and listeners and new Christians, new people to the Word. When we use the phrase last days, or the end of time, you know, or the great day of the Lord, that can be scary to people, but I want people to get the biblical perspective. All that means is, well, I don't want to use the word all because that diminishes it. What it means is, it's the last day of man's wicked rule and reign, and the beginning of the reign of Jesus Christ. In fact, the Bible says we should comfort each other with these words. We should pray for the speed of its coming. We should look forward to that day. We who? We that are under the blood. We that are on the winning side. We that are ambassadors for the kingdom of Jesus Christ. So do I look forward to the end of time? I look forward to the end of man's time. I want President Jesus on the throne. King Jesus, if you will, you know, Prime Minister Jesus, whatever title you want to give him, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. I want him on the throne. I mean, I'm looking forward to the restitution of all things. I'm looking forward eventually to a new heaven, a new earth, no more crying, no more pain, no more death, like it was in the garden, the restitution all the way back to the original Garden of Eden scenario. And
Yep. Just on that point, you remember the garden, right? Adam and Eve, they were created. Remember that they also were spirit. They were able to see into heaven. Okay. They were basically, I don't know what you call it, but remember that God had to make skins for them, because when they sinned and they put that curse on them, and everything changed, because they used to be able to see into heaven with their eyes. They didn't used to need any clothes or anything else. They were just different. Yes, they are made from the clay, you know, from the dust of the earth, but they are also godlike. They were made in the image of God. So they were not like us. we are actually, de-evolved, so to speak. We are, I know the curse was ended when Jesus came down and gave his life for everyone, but we are definitely nothing like our ancient father and mother, Adam and Eve. Just wanted to make that note. That's about all that you need to get from this video. It's a good one. So with that one, everyone, God bless. It's Monday. We'll see you again on Wednesday, hopefully, Lord willing. And please take care of each other. Take care of each other. Try to forgive each other. Try not to offend each other. Seem to have done some of that this weekend and got some praying to do. So anyways, God bless you all and peace out.